Welcome to Absolutely Marvel and DC's WandaVision Episode 9 analysis and discussion. I said all the key words, Sal. All right, Sal and I are now going to be talking about the show. We're going to be getting a little bit more on point with this when Falcon and Winter Soldier come out. But today we're talking about WandaVision Episode 9. So let's go ahead and take it from the top, Sal. This literally picks up with Wanda facing Agatha right at the start.
Yes.
And for the record, if you're watching this and weren't expecting spoilers, I don't know why.
Show's over, baby.
So let's go ahead and talk about that first. I want to talk because I have a lot to say about this fight sequence. So the fight kicks off with Agatha's got the kids. She's fighting Wanda. Wanda is fighting Agatha. We got Vision versus Vision. And we had what was it? There was like a third fight going on at the same time. Wasn't it like Hayward versus Randall, I think?
Yeah. Hayward was dealing with Jimmy Woo.
Jimmy Woo. Randall Park is the actor. My bad.
Yes.
I thought the Vision fight was actually really interesting. I said actually a lot.
Yeah.
Because it was CGI fight, and then the ship of Theseus thing, which is like
the big meme.
Literally. But I've never heard that philosophy, and I was like, ooh, this is good.
Yeah, I like that too.
So what did you think about the Vision thing? Let's talk about that first.
It was great. I all the theories were wrong. It's just they put him back online and they blocked his memories, and having this vision, like our vision from the show, confront our vision from the movies was kind of a fun meta idea. But I'm really glad it wasn't a slugfest. I'm really glad it was like a meeting of the minds kind of thing. That was a really smart move. And
that's what I wanted. Like I put out that I was a little disappointed by the actual fight, but the Wanda versus Agatha fight was just slinging CGI effects at each other, which would have been cool if I hadn't seen that for the last 15 years of superhero movies. Just turns into the CGI slugfest.
The way I see it, it was barely even a fight. It was more like we were dazzled by the effects so that we wouldn't think about what Wanda's true goal was in that fight. The ace in the hole that she kind of pulls that gives her edge over Agatha, which was cool. And it was set up in the last episode. It was paid off in the next episode. Smart, good stuff.
Yeah, the whole Scarlet Witch angle.
I wasn't really, I'm the kind of person who's like, oh, cool, fight scene, that's cool. But nah, that's not really what I'm here for. I'm here for the interaction and for I want a cool fight scene like everybody else. But it's a show. The budget's a little lower.
I actually didn't want the fight scene this time. I actually did not want the whole show was not your usual MCU fare. So I was expecting a much more thought-provoking ending. What happened with Vision, I thought was a lot better because, it broke down to a battle of the minds, and then he, as we discovered later, he is a piece of the Mind Stone inside of Wanda. Right. So him touching the other Vision, kind of giving that power, those memories unlocked, that all made sense, and it was great. And then you go back to Wanda, and she's just like, hua, hua, hua. And I'm just like, all right, cool.
Yeah. I mean, they're wizards, you have to be selective. And look, Lord of the Rings, watching Gandalf and Saruman fight is very different from watching Voldemort and Harry fight. Is very different from watching Wanda and Agatha fight. But when you have wizards throwing magic at each other, you gotta pick a lane and stick in that lane. And in this case, magic looks like this. And Wanda's not a cool sorcerer like Doctor Strange, so she's not gonna do what Doc did in Infinity War, where he takes energy and turns it into butterflies, or he goes into the mirror dimension. We're gonna get red blobs because that's what Wanda's been doing since she was introduced.
Yeah.
It's red blobs versus purple blobs. Is that visually uninteresting? Yes. Was that a sticking point for me? Nah. I just kind of my eyes glazed over. I'm like, okay, whatever. But then when it was with the reveal there, I was like, smart, cool, all right.
The ruins
sense.
On the walls that she'd actually been missing intentionally to do this big ruins thing.
Yeah.
I did like that. I liked the ending was not just beat down Agatha. I do like that.
Totally.
I like what they did with Vision. I like that at the end of the whole thing, it didn't just turn into punchy, whoever can get punched the hardest loses.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that. I did enjoy. What did you think about the way she treated Agatha at the ending, the prison she put her in, where she's just the nosy neighbor?
I honestly, I could go either way on that. When it happened, I know that the showrunners clearly were like, yeah, this is a great moment. And for me, I was like, I didn't really feel much in that moment. because Agatha's so powerful, because she's kind of been one step ahead of Wanda the whole time, and Agatha kind of being at her mercy and being like, oh no, I kind of felt like that was crocodile tears. Like, I kind of feel like she's like, good, like, don't throw me in the briar patch. Like, I really thought she was like, oh no, don't literally leave me alone by myself with like, and use magic to wipe my mind. Like, clearly I'm going to get out of this.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it pays off later in the MCU, because the MCU has a kind of a history of doing weird things with the villains, either killing them or removing them, and then it never pays off. Like, if this is like, oh, she is going to come back to Agatha at some point, and we're going to see Agatha return, cool. Because she even says, I'll be seeing you again. But if this is also, Agatha's just off the board now, and we didn't kill her in case we ever get a season 2, you know, like.
Yeah. I mean, I hope we don't. I don't really want any more WandaVision. Like, I think this was a good show, and it was a good thing that Marvel produced. Don't get too, greedy with it. I was very worried about Mandalorian season 2. I'm very happy with that, by the way. But like, that had a story. This feels like you're kind of wrapped up. Like, we have Wanda going in one direction, and she's going to be picked up in Doctor Strange 2. We have Vision going another direction. No one has any idea where the hell he's going, and I'm like, I kind of feel like that was a little bit of a miss. Like, I think the show was overall a great success, but I also feel like some stuff just kind of happened or went away. Like, Vision just leaves. That's what he would do, and I get that, but I'm kind of like, does Feige / the rest of the team know where he's going?
We have a theory video coming out about that more in depth, because we're actually doing a little bit more research on a lot of the popular theories. But right now, my current theory on White Vision is that White Vision is going to come back either at the end of Strange 2, or he's going to come back in the Avengers. And I think that is going to decide based on how well WandaVision does. Now, right now it's listed as a limited series, but the way it is open-ended at the ending of this, you could easily go into a season 2 of her getting to know this new Vision with her kids. True. So she could get the kids back in Doctor Strange 2.
Right.
Kids are now back. White Vision shows up there and wants to try again, but it's a whole new thing that they have to go through. And I think that could be technically a WandaVision season 2 if WandaVision season 1 did well. Or White Vision shows up in the new Avengers movie, where he finally arrives and kind of like, I'm back and I feel like me again. And that's his return. I think it's going to come down to how well this series does. And with how well it is doing, I see them trying to do a season 2 eventually. Because Mando season 2 didn't even exist at first, right? Like, that came later.
It didn't. Yeah. I'm kind of concerned based on how they've handled Avengers relationships. Like, they were really pushing with Age of Ultron, the Banner, there's a Scarlet Witch and a Scarlett Johansson, the Black Widow Hulk relationship in Age of Ultron, and it's kind of set up in Avengers 1, but by the time we get to Infinity War, it's just kind of like, oh, hi. Like, they just say hello from across the room at each other, and it's never acknowledged again. And they're kind of like, you went into space, which means we're not going out anymore. Like, is that really how we're going to do this? So I'm kind of worried that because Vision has
that's all I had to do to break up with exes back in the day? Just go into space and ignore them?
Just go into space, just for an indeterminate amount of time. Just a little bit of time. You went into space. That's it. You went out of the boundaries of a relationship.
I get what you're saying. I think the Hulk's in a weird situation. I think Universal's got more going on than than anybody wants to admit. Because the fact that they just skipped over the whole Professor Hulk thing just to pretty much end the Hulk was like, you went crazy in Age of Ultron and you just eventually eradicated him without much else going on.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I feel like Universal's got something going on where they're pausing it, or they don't, but Disney's worried about another Sony situation. So they don't want to give Universal any legs to stand on.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of fascinated by how little we know about the Universal Disney Hulk situation,
Yeah. People forget that they don't own the Hulk still.
Right. Like, we know that Namor was with Universal, but I think they just let that go.
Yeah.
But that's all I know, is that, like, Universal's involved in some way. And I'm kind of like, really? Like, still? You didn't fix that? But
he's showing up in She-Hulk, but I get a feeling it's going to be a weird cameo. But let's get back to WandaVision.
But we talked about White Vision, like that. My concern is that Wanda's going to have the kids, and Vision's going to show up, and she's going to be like, "These aren't yours."
Well, that might be the thing. How he shows up, we get WandaVision too.
Right.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Cool.
Like, I feel like it's open-ended intentionally so that it could be resolved in Doctor Strange, or it could get picked up for a follow-on season. Because if you look at the interviews, Paul Bettany, I think, is one that said this. The show they thought was just going to be that weird kooky uncle that no one ever talked about and just kind of disappear. They were supposed to be number 2. It was going to be Falcon Winter Soldier, and they assumed that they were just going to be few people watch us. No, like they weren't expecting this.
No,
as proven by things like the Dairy Mill running wild, stuff that.
What they did with Quicksilver, yeah.
Well, I want to talk about Pietro Ralph Boner in a minute.
Yeah, please.
But first, I want to talk. How did you feel about the superhero's decision not being your standard superhero decision? She had to decide between her happiness or the happiness of the entire town. It wasn't the usual like save the day or become evil or anything. It was her decision. I feel was one of the worst ones in the MCU because it really was your kids and husband or this town that you've enslaved. Like
yeah. I mean, I think we knew that she wasn't going to choose, to screw over the town some more. But I don't know. There was a lot of great stuff in this finale, particularly when it came to Wanda and Vision and then their interactions. I feel like a lot of other things were kind of like either weird or glossed over. The town, for example, like when the town gets broken, like when their wills are finally given back to them, and they all just kind of like walk at Wanda and be like, here's the things I'm mad about. I'm like, would anyone do this? Would they all really do this? Wouldn't they just run away?
It's like if that happened to me, I'm like, Sal, we got our memories back. There's the evil witch that did it. Get the hell out. Sal, run.
Yeah, let's leave. Like literally just leave, or at least get as far away from her as possible. Like I feel like everyone just kind of being like, and especially because they looked like they were all kind of like in a trance doing that as well. Maybe Agatha was doing that. I don't know. But like when Monica's like, they'll never know what you gave up. I'm like, who cares? They certainly don't.
Yeah,
like,
they really don't. They're really mad. Like
they really don't care. And she owns property there, so like you're screwed. Like you're gonna have to deal with these people.
She's probably gonna be able to sell that. I mean, it's a plot of land. What is she supposed to do with it now?
In a lousy town, like nobody wants that like land. So you're gonna take a bath on that. I'm sorry.
That's your concern. Her real estate value now that she's ruined the town further.
She just bought real estate in Bergen County, New Jersey. That's a very pricey plot of land.
All right, so I mean, I liked it. I liked it being a little bit deeper than our usual. Like I think we haven't had a decision like this in Civil War where Cap had to choose friend or friend kind of a situation. Like we haven't had a really deep decision in a while. So I did enjoy that one a lot.
I agree.
Okay, so let's talk about because there's not much. There's not too much. Like everyone's like, "What are the Easter eggs?" Not much happened except for the post-credit scene, which I want to have a whole video about theorizing on that post-credit scene, guys. Because we're gonna explain it, we're gonna talk about it. And it's a video unto itself. So I apologize if you're looking for us to go deep diving into that, but that will be. The only thing we're really gonna mention about the post-credit scene is I thought it looked cool. It looked like Wundagore to me, like where they were located.
See, I was like, "Ooh, Wundagore," and Tiffany, my wife, was like, or Latveria. And I was like, oh, no. That's awesome.
There's so many theories and ideas that are going to go into that post-credit scene. We're going to have to do a whole separate video on the post-credits. So, yeah. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, the big red herring in the room, Ralph Boner.
Lame.
Andy, my brother, said that apparently they just thought it. Now, here's the kicker that with this. I get that the fans made a lot of theories, but there was some of those Twitter leaks we discussed on our previous show about the insider leaks that this was not to be wasted. This was not going to be a wasted opportunity.
I heard that too.
And I was like, oh, cool. So my theory was that they would imply or hint where he came from. That's it. I wasn't expecting Doctor Strange to show up. I was not expecting for the X-Men to walk through a portal. I was not expecting Magneto. I wasn't expecting any of these crazy things because it would have taken away from WandaVision as a whole. Yes. But to then just make him a random bro in the town, that was like you could have easily just made him disappear and be like, well, you'll never figure out where he's from, and that's it. That's all you had to do. Like, oh, there's more to it, but we just won't go into that.
Right. Yeah. I've heard some theories, and I like this one, that like Ralph Boner is a fake name and that there's more to it. And it could be that maybe when they were making it and they were like, this is not going to be watched very much, the Evan Peters thing will blow up, but like not nearly to the degree that it did, that they were like, it'll be funny. Because that's what we do with the MCU. We take your ideas or your fan theories and we turn them into jokes. But I feel like now they're like, oh my god, maybe we should have done something with this. Like, you know what I mean? And they're kind of like, well, maybe we'll have him scoff and say like, huh, boner. Like, he's not an idiot. It's just like he's like, that's a funny name that we picked. And there might be something else going on. I'm still not ready to let go of the idea that like we can pick and choose actors from across franchises and just stick them in these things, because he's just such a great Quicksilver and I really like that character, and he was never really given much to do outside of run, which is great, but like, you know, more. I'm
just upset. Not that I'm like I said, I didn't feed into a lot of the fan. I looked at them and I say this would be a fun reveal, but I always felt a lot of the fan theories would ruin what WandaVision was going for. That was my general idea with the fan theories, because WandaVision was trying to tell a story of a woman getting through her trauma. That's what it was trying to tell. It was not trying to tell the story of the introduction of the X-Men. It was not trying to tell the story of the introduction of Doctor Strange in the multiverse. It was trying to tell the story of a woman getting through her trauma. And the moment you introduce the multiverse or Quicksilver or any of these things, that's what it would have been about. Hey, what was WandaVision about? The multiverse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm fine. I didn't read a lot into a lot of those theories, but I agree with you on that one. I just don't understand if that was all they were going to make it be.
Right.
Why that actor? You could have used anybody to be another version of Quicksilver. Anybody.
I think because they knew. I think for me the boner joke is one of it's fine. It's their franchise. I also am. I'm at least on the camp of it would be stupid to overshadow your show about these two people and make it about like a backdoor X-Men pilot.
Yeah, because that's what it would have turned into.
But at the same time, I'm also like, I feel like it's kind of mean-spirited to like make a dick joke out of this Quicksilver cameo when it was such like, you knew based on the amount of secrecy and work that went into like hiding him on set and making it a big surprise. Like I remember them talking about it in interviews, not speculation, not leaks, just interviews, people being like, you don't know how much work went into getting this cameo under wraps. And it's like, then why work so hard just to stick it to everybody? Like, you know, and that's why I don't think it's necessarily just a dick joke. I hope it isn't, but if it is, I am not the least bit surprised, but I also need to say that sucks. Like, at the end of the day, like, they didn't need to have a portal open. They didn't need Hugh Jackman to show up. They didn't need any of that. They didn't need her to say mutants. They just didn't need to also make it go like, don't worry, it's absolutely nothing.
They could have been like, who's that fake Quicksilver? And Agatha be like, well, you'll never find out. He left. And that's it. Like, that could have been
I put him back. Like, that's all she needed to say. I put him back.
Because I mean, I get what they were going for. They wanted this to be a solo thing. They didn't want it to be like, oh, well, you have to watch this to go to the Doctor Strange. I guarantee Falcon Winter Soldier is also going to be standalone because they don't want people to feel like they have to get Disney Plus or they can't watch the movie.
I think Falcon Winter Soldier is going to be the most essential. I think that it's going to have the most impact and ramifications on the MCU going forward because it was going to be the first MCU thing. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Also because I think more people were I think that they anticipated more people were going to want to see and going to see Falcon Winter Soldier. I think they were like, this is the big one. Like, okay. I think that if they were going to take any massive cameo and stick it in Falcon Winter Soldier, it would be Spider-Man. Like, I think that that's how big Falcon Winter Soldier is for Disney Plus / Marvel, as opposed to WandaVision, which is like the redheaded stepchild of the like plan going forward. And because of the pandemic and them having to flip-flop them, they're like, oops. Everyone loved it.
Yeah.
You know that Falcon Winter Soldier is just a fight scene that lasts 9 episodes, right? Like. I'm fine with that.
It's gonna be weird to see what they do with this. I feel like they could have done more with it. Without doing more with it, I think is the thing. They could have easily just left it alone and just decide later what they wanted to do with it. Doing the Ralph Boner joke, because they could have said, he left, and then in some, like they did with what was the villain in Iron Man that they said that they
Mandarin?
Mandarin. They could have just done a Mandarin. Like, it was a DVD extra. Look, he did this.
He was an actor. That's they could have Mandarin him.
They could have just left it hanging and then just dealt with it later. They left White Vision hanging. I mean,
they left Abomination hanging. He's been hanging for like a decade or more. Like, there are plenty. Justin Hammer is still waiting for justice.
Oh, would have been great if he was the surprise. The only other thing I really have to say about episode 9 is my only theory that I was sticking to is that we were going to discover Hayward was somebody else in the post-credit scene. I'm a little sad Hayward's just a dick guy at Shield. Just a jerk.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to be some like multi-tiered villain. I wasn't looking forward to Red Skull or Ultron or any of that. But just, I mean, he's literally just the like, oh, we arrested him. Like,
yeah, like we got him, and I'm like, did he really do anything that he didn't have security clearance to do? Like,
you guys gave him
like, I don't know, it just,
you know that, right?
Yeah, right. Like he's in charge of sword. I don't even know what that is. Like, I'm not saying I don't know what sword is, but like the MCU sword about sentient weapons. Like, I don't even know what kind of clearance they have. Clearly, it was supposed to like clearly it's just a stand-in for Shield, and they can do whatever they want. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the police can arrest someone who works as the director of sword.
Yeah, he didn't even
like,
do anything inherently wrong either. His biggest thing was he lied about how Wanda got Vision.
Right. Like, who's pressing charges for that? Like, not Wanda. She flew away.
Like,
I don't know.
If anything, they're putting him in handcuffs. Shouldn't he just been like demoted? Like even his interactions with Jimmy Woo is he's just an asshole, guys. Like,
yeah, he's just a jerk. You can't arrest somebody for being a jerk. Here's the thing. My fan theory is, if you can even call it that.
Chad says he did shoot at the children, so they're gonna put him away for that.
They're not real. It's like shooting at a hologram. The thing I was certain was going to happen was I knew in my heart that Doctor Strange was going to show up at the end.
Did you really?
I was so sure.
Well, that's
the Doctor Strange is going to show up,
and we're going to talk about that in 2 seconds as we explain the post-credit scene a little bit better, because we want to take a little bit. One, it's better clickbait, and we wanted to have a centralized episode on that post-credit scene. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Absolutely Marvel in DC, WandaVision Episode 9 analysis and discussion with me and Sal. We'll be back very soon with the discussion about Superman and The Flash, and stick around because we'll be doing Falcon and Winter Soldier when that comes out every week, because that's what we do here. Analysis, discussion, Easter eggs, and theories right here at Absolutely Marvel in DC. Thank you.